With the recent release of the Minecraft movie, we are witnessing history, absolutely destroying all records in the box office, while also getting all teenagers to unite to annoy moviegoers. It's pretty damn impressive. Since we here at Marsman Gaming have always been covering these game adaptations, I felt that it was our job as adult men to venture into the overworld and see whether this movie is as hyped as every child says it is. Is the Minecraft movie an absolute hit? Does it pay homage to the gaming giant? I sent my top generals to investigate these questions and see whether this movie is worth watching. Let's jump into it.
Welcome everyone, and Chris, let's talk about the good. And I tell you what, I'll just start with me. Going into this movie, I did not have high expectations. I actually had, if there was like all the way to the ground, I was one step above the ground. I was at Borderlands level expectations, and at the end of the movie, I was surprised in a good way. And really, off the bat, what was really good to me was the nuggets. You just got a boatload of Minecraft nuggets, from the different weapons to the crafting to the enemies. And even though some of the animations, or I would say kind of the character designs, were a little funky being in live action, they worked for the most part. And I tell you, if you played Minecraft, I think you'll really appreciate all the different nuggets that you get in this movie. And I also thought, Jack Black, Jason Momoa was really strong. They obviously carried it. Some of the other characters we'll talk about in the bad, not so much. And I think a lot of that has to do with the script writing and pacing. But they carried the load. There were some funny jokes. We giggled throughout. It wasn't like such a child version of this movie that we were anticipating. They had some nice humor in there that kind of stretched from all ages. So those, to me, the nuggets from Minecraft, some of the humor actually hit pretty well. Some of the fight scenes or animations worked pretty well for a movie that had to spend a majority of it under green screen. So what would you say is the good for you?
Yeah, man, I'm going to agree with you. I really thought this was going to be like Borderlands 2 with Jack Black instead of Kevin Hart, but me and you were sitting together and we were laughing pretty hard at certain points. Listen, I think there was a lot of good here. You had Jack Black, you had Jason Momoa as the garbage man. I think they both came off as very goofy. They both had really good energy, and that really kept the story alive. Like you said, the characters and even the action scenes, although, we knew going into it, it's going to be a lot of green screen, with the villagers and the piglins and stuff like that. We knew it was going to be some animations, some green screens with the fighting, but it actually wasn't that bad. I thought all the action scenes, from the intro to the big fight at the end were actually very good. And I'm gonna definitely agree with you with the nuggets. I think the video game references, the weapon crafting, the building was a huge part. It might have cost a little bit of the writing of a good story, but I think they did a good job with the video game references, staying goofy the entire time, and having the characters and at least the worldly characters as well be a big part of this movie. I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, and listen, I'll just make this there'll be some slight spoilers here, because I did want to bring up some of those references as we talk about the good. You're talking about like the Ender Pearl, you're talking about diamond armor, and you're talking about like the water bucket moves that you do in Minecraft. Like if you're a veteran here, you will appreciate some of the actions that take place, the wings, all the different things that they talk about. They make those references, so you can tell that the actors and the people writing it embrace the world of Minecraft, and that's what you want in adaptation. It reminded me, with all the different references, studied that kind of, implemented that kind of stuff. And I tell you what, you could tell me who your favorite character is. The garbage man for me, I thought Jason Momoa, going into it, I didn't think he was fit in this kind of movie, and he fit well. I thought he was the best character. I know Jack Black was playing himself practically and calling himself Steve, but the garbage man was a new character for Jason Momoa, and I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to agree with you there. I mean, whenever Jack Black is playing himself in a movie, it's always going to be good. He always brings like the vibes. Whenever they allow him to sing, I think is literally the funniest part of Jack Black. We saw it with him as Bowser in Mario, the Peaches song. I mean, he had a couple songs in this where like the whole time he was singing, the vibe was just so funny. So I think Jack Black was a great character, but You're right, man. Jason Momoa as the garbage man, I think he was probably the best written character. I think
Yeah.
from the jump, his character was the most developed out of like all the characters. The other three characters, the Henry character, the Natalie character, even Dawn, I think her name wasn't really like scripted well. So I feel like you can only act as well as the script is written. So I think Jason Momoa's Garbage Man was written well and he acted it well. And then like you can't really like see any bad with Jack Black's acting, especially if he's singing and he's allowed to, like you said, literally play himself as Jack Black.
Like they
Right.
changed Steve, which isn't a real, like it's a Minecraft character, but there's not a personality behind it. So they morphed him into you could be yourself and be Steve, which worked out. But with the good, we do have to talk about the bad. And as great as the Nuggets were, as great as some of, I actually enjoyed some of the action scenes, the humor, especially between Jack Black and Jason Momoa. The story was not good. The story was bare minimum. I mean, this was an hour 40 plus for the movie. We saw the Mario Bros movie, which also had a bare minimum plot line. That was less time. And it felt like this movie rushed even more than the Mario Bros movie, which to me was hard to do, but they found a way to do it anyway. And I think part of it is they really had to speed things up right in the beginning. They got to tell you what Minecraft is practically, what the world is, and who the enemy is, right out of the gate. And then they try to introduce the characters, and you saw, we kind of referenced in the previous segment, a couple of them they did well. Like Steve was not bad, even though they had to rush through the kind of set up the plot. Garbage Man was very good, the best one. And then everything else, Henry, the sister, the real estate agent, not so much, right? You just got bare bones minimum, Henry getting bullied because he's creative, it doesn't go that far for them. And I think that's where it leaves to my second issue, is that so many MacGuffins, which are conveniences for the main characters, forced tension between different protagonists that just wasn't organically done. And again, there are some slight spoilers. I'll just say this. They try to force some tension between the brother and sister. They try to force tension between Henry and the garbage man. And it just wasn't organic. It wasn't organic. So the tension just felt fake, and they had to rush through it, blow past it. It's there, it's solved, move forward. And that's kind of like my biggest problem with it. Entertaining, fun to enjoy and consume. But if you really put any thought into it, you see a lot of the ugly words, unfortunately, from the movie. All right, Chris, what was your bad?
Yeah, so my bad had to do with the plot. The plot moved so fast in the beginning. They kind of wanted to just shove you into the Minecraft world so quickly that I think it created like plot holes throughout the movie. And I think it was really the character development. So I think only two characters, Jack Black being Steve, and then you got Jason Momoa being the garbage man. I think those two were written well. But the other three main characters really weren't written well. And I think, the character development and the scripts that they were given, didn't really help them at all. The one big thing, too, is I think they had a lot of mishaps with foreshadowing. The big one was actually with my favorite character, the Garbage Man. And we're going to have a little bit of spoilers here, but, he had made a bucket, I think it was like bucket nunchucks that he made. And, when he went to go sacrifice himself, it didn't seem like he had those bucket nunchucks, which we learned in the end he used to save himself and kind of come back like Kevin Hart did, in Borderlands. But I think they had,
He did a water bucket. He did the water bucket maneuver at Minecraft people, where you save yourself right at the end by placing a bucket of water down. But they did that off screen, right? So continue, Chris.
They could have, easily foreshadowed that when he was on the bridge about to sacrifice himself, and they didn't, so there was just some silly things that they could have done that they didn't. And then he had, other things that I think wasted time. For example, Jennifer Coolidge's love story with the villager, they're trying to shove adult humor, into our faces. For the adults, I get it. Kids were having fun, so they wanted to, have the adults laugh. But I think it was a waste of time. They could have used that time to develop, some of the characters. But again, I think they did pretty good in general.
Yeah, and I agree with you. The foreshadowing, kind of like I mentioned in mine, the forced tensions. And again, I put up a spoiler warning. Like they had to go a choice between going over the hill to get to the mansion or through it. They have to go through it because Garbage Man wanted diamonds, and they created this scenario that wasn't really portrayed in the movie, where the sister and the real estate lady are going a separate way to get there, and they have to get to the mansion. They were supposed to meet there, but that wasn't talked about. They just got separated during the fight, and they all said, okay, we're all going to the mansion there. So they took the long route, even though it didn't really make it seem like it was the long route to get diamonds, and that created tension between Garbage Man and Henry, when it just, like, it wasn't organic. It was so forced, and then it was resolved practically the next scene, right? So, like, those are the kind of things, and another thing, like, Steve recognized Henry's brilliance in the Minecraft world right out of the gate, even though they didn't see him do anything great besides build a hut, right? So it's just like those little things where, because they have to move so quickly, they have to create these tensions and solve it at a rapid pace. And that comes sometimes, again, if you're going in there, mind empty, you want to see goofiness, you probably don't pick up on that. But if you're thinking about it, that's where those ugly warts show up. So I 100% agree. But what do you guys think? What did you like? What did you dislike about the Minecraft movie? Well, let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And we have some membership with some great perks that are live. So join up to be a member of the Marsman crew. With that, let's go into our final verdict. And I'll start. This is a interesting one because there's a huge discrepancy, if you go on Rotten Tomatoes, between the critics, who I think the last time we just checked is, Hucky, below 50%, and then the users, which are over 80. It kind of reminded me of the huge discrepancy in what the critics think versus what the users think. And for me, I'm going to have it at a 6. And I know, again, on our scale, we have our video game scale, we have our 10, 5 is average, and I think this is slightly above average on an entertainment basis. I think, again, as a video game adaptation, is it good or not? I think it's a good adaptation, but not a great movie. And that's why my best way to describe it. They do a ton of nuggets. You get a ton. If you're a Minecraft fan, this really will blast you with the different mechanics, the villains, all the different nuggets, the chicken jockey, which got the audience going crazy, and they've been going crazy around the world apparently over this stuff, where police have to get involved. Like, the kids that are Minecraft fans, or even adults, I think you will have a real appreciation for the environment that they created here, really encap the Minecraft world. And for that, they deserve a lot of credit. I thought a couple of the characters were solid. It was funny at times, and it was entertaining. That's the one thing I'll say. It was way more entertaining than Borderlands, which Borderlands was bad and boring. This one is okay story-wise, but more entertaining. And so for that, it gets more credit. But those plot holes, the poor character development, especially for your main protagonist, ain't great. You had like weird things for whatever, like Dennis going into the real world for whatever reason. Like, there's things that don't make a lot of sense. It's a kid movie. I get it. You get a little bit of a leash. But when you start to use your brain, you start seeing these ugly warts. I think it's a good video game adaptation for Minecraft, which doesn't have, the lore to tell the stories, like a direct story that we've seen other ones do. But one thing they did do well, capture the environment, give you some of that entertainment. And for that, I give it a 6 out of 10, slightly above average on the overall entertainment scale.
Okay.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, listen, I'm close. I'm a little bit higher than you. I'm at a 6.5. Listen, I think for a movie adaptation or a video game adaptation that went to the big screen, I think it was pretty good. I think it was good. Definitely for kids, under 13, 14 years old, anyone that loves Minecraft, you're definitely going to love this. You're definitely going to love the movie, and it's because you got Jack Black, whose vibe is always funny, especially when he's singing, which he does have some singing in this movie, and it is just hilarious. You got Jason Momoa as the Garbage Man. You get to see his character development do pretty well. And again, the characters that they had, the worldly characters that they had throughout the entire world of Minecraft, I think they did very good there. I think the action scenes were pretty good, especially the big fight at the end. I thought that was really cool. And listen, the main thing was those references, the video game references that they brought, the weapon crafting, the building. I think they did a very good job there. You get to see, a lot of the weapons. You got to see the diamond sword. Yeah. The diamond armor as well that Steve was wearing at the end. And listen, a 6.5 I think is pretty good, but those plot holes that I was talking about before, the character development that led into the plot holes, if they wrote out all the characters, especially like Henry, even Natalie, if they gave them better scripts, better things to say, if they just developed the character more, it definitely could have shot up, I bet, even on the critic side. Yeah. So I think that's what the critics were looking at was, there was some pretty big plot holes. The character development wasn't great. But listen, I think the ending, I kind of like the ending. I know some people didn't love the ending, but big action. You got Jason Momoa's character, the Garbage Man, coming in, saving the day. You had great video game references in the last part as well. And then listen, it is a kids movie, so everyone wins in the end. Steve goes to the real world. Him and the Garbage Man team up, make a video game. Everyone kind of wins in the end. So all together, dude, I think it was a pretty good movie, good video game adaptation, and I'm sure we're going to see a Minecraft 2. And I bet we don't see a Borderlands 2.
Yeah, that's a good way. It's not the worst, but most likely also isn't the best we've seen from the video game adaptation. So somewhere in between there. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't done so yet, hit that thumbs up and subscribe to support the channel. Also, check out our end screen for some of our other video game adaptation reviews, most recently, our Borderlands one. Until next time, this is Frank and Marsman Gaming signing off. Game on.